Tape Deck Media.
My friend Dan, he's got a podcast, cause all comics need a podcast, and nobody had a podcast called The Art of Bombing. So Dan went out and bought a tape deck. Who knows why he bought a tape deck? Podcasts don't get played on tape decks, but Dan is from the 80s. So hey there, all you funny jerks, come talk to Dan about your work. Tell him all about your worst times. It's The Art of Bombing.
Well, you're based in Las Vegas. Is
Yes.
that correct? Correct. Is that where you started comedy?
I was born and raised in Vegas, started comedy here in 2013. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. What inspired you to pursue comedy?
The public. I've always been a funny person. I got in trouble a lot and still do for making jokes when I probably shouldn't do that. Got fired recently for making a joke at work. That was fun.
Oh, whoops.
Yeah. So people are always like, you should do comedy. I'm like, no, that looks kind of scary. I mean, I've seen stand up before and I'm like, this looks hard. I don't want to do that. And then I finally decided you might as well just go. I was class clown in high school, so whatever. And then I found an open mic at the strip club on a Thursday night and said, okay, I'll go there.
And try it out. That's
Yeah.
good. How do you like doing comedy like in Vegas, in the Vegas scene? Because I know I've been to Vegas a few times for comedy. Obviously not any of the big clubs, but
Mhm.
you know, some of the other shows I've done out there. And it seems like it's kind of a competitive because not only do you have your local scene, you have, you know, you have all these major clubs, but it seems like it's hard to get into those clubs as a local, or it used to be. Maybe that's changed because they bring in all these, you know,
Mhm.
talent from out of town.
Yeah, it's still the same. I mean, I did comedy here for 2 years and I had done pretty much every local show they had. And I was trying to do the comedy clubs and they were all like, we don't know who you are, or whatever they were doing over there. And I got sick of kind of just being stagnant here. And so I went to LA. So I've been kind of traveling in between Vegas and multiple like big hubs of comedy for about 10
Mhm.
years. So I don't know how comedy is now. I just moved back to Vegas. So I'm trying to get back into it and see what people are doing. But comedy is hard here. There's not a lot of stage time. Um, the shows can be, glorified open mics.
Mhm. Yeah.
And the clubs still really don't book locals. So it's from what I'm seeing,
Yeah.
it's still kind of the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it seems like even like the openers and features all have like major credits at the you
Hmm.
know, in order to work at those clubs. Because obviously, I guess it's Vegas. You want to, people are paying big money for those shows. You got to give them a good show, I guess.
Yeah, and I think it's hard too because there are so many other things to do in Vegas where people don't initially come here to do comedy. Like unless they're
Yeah.
coming to see somebody they already want to see, they're
Yeah.
not just strolling into the Comedy Cellar at the Rio to see who's doing comedy there.
Hmm.
So it's like, do I want to go see a contortionist or do I want to go see somebody tell some dick jokes? And it's like, I want to go watch a contortionist real fast. That might be cool.
Exactly.
The competition is everywhere. So they're having to like deal with Gordon Ramsay opening a restaurant or a Tiger or an opening of a so-and-so or the F1 or a hockey game. So it's to get people to come to comedy shows on the strip is really hard. So I understand why they pick people that have a bigger following, but you can throw in a local every once in a while.
Right? Even just a little guest spot.
Yeah, they don't even do that. They don't even do
Yeah,
guest spots here. It's crazy.
yeah, that's wild. But
Mhm.
yeah, it makes sense for
Mhm.
that, where you're at for
Mhm.
sure.
Yeah.
Well, let's get into this now that we got to learn a little about you and where you started comedy. This podcast is about bombing, so I'd love to hear a story of a time where you felt like you bombed or it was just a bad show.
I kind of have two. I don't know which one. I would say for me when I first started comedy, I was actually funny out the gate. And I didn't bomb until maybe like 4 months in. And that bomb was horrible. I quit comedy for like 3 months. I was like, I gotta hide. Like I was running around being all cocky because I was doing so well. And then they used to have this talent show kind of thing where they would record people and put it on YouTube. This is like 2014 or something like that. This place is called Money Plays. And it was like a mix of mics. There was like people doing music and comedy or whatever. And I invited all of my friends to come because I'm big shit. I'm funny all the time. It's gonna be great. I I invite my coworkers, and I'm not even writing jokes at this point. I'm still just kind of going off like I'm just funny naturally kind of thing
Yep.
because it was working. And then I was just telling stories from work, and then all of a sudden people weren't laughing, and I was like, oh no. And this is being recorded. I imagine there's a videotape somewhere of me bombing out there.
Oh no.
I hope that it's gone. If actually this didn't happen, let's start over. I don't want anybody to find that video. I have made a mistake. Never happened. Never heard of that place. Yeah, it's on YouTube somewhere probably of me bombing. And when I get really anxious, my mouth gets dry and my lips start just making that weird sound. And I'm just like,
Oh, yep.
oh, you can totally tell I'm not having a great time. And I bombed. And then this was right around when Wolf of Wall Street came out. You remember that scene where Matthew McConaughey's doing it? I literally did that.
Oh no. You started doing it.
I just remembered I did that right now. I have blocked that out of my mind. I can't believe I did that. I was like, maybe that'll make them laugh.
Just start doing random impressions.
I think I might have thrown it in to kind of make it tie into my jokes, but I don't know why I did that. I'm like, oh, it's current. Maybe it's a funny thing people are talking about. Maybe I could end on that. And it was not received well.
That's always the worst. It seemed like when a new comic starts out doing really well, and then when they do get bombed, that first bomb is it's a tough one. It hurts a lot.
I was thinking about that too, because I think if I had bombed initially, I probably would have quit. I think it was. I don't think I would be able to be like, oh, maybe that was just a one-off. No, that was your sign to never do comedy. I think that's what would have happened if I bombed first.
First, yeah.
So
that's
I'm glad
interesting.
it happened that way, but I don't have the stick-to-itiveness. I'm not delusional enough to be like, that was really bad. Let's do it again. Like I don't.
Like a lot of us, though.
Yeah, I'm like, how are you bombing and then you're still hanging out? Don't you want to go home in shame?
Well, yeah, I don't usually hang. If I bomb really bad, I'm not wanting to hang out, but I'll come back and do it again.
Yes, because you have at least a little bit of like an awareness of like,
oh yeah, absolutely,
what happened. There are some people who will bomb and then hang out, and I'm like, you don't.
Oh yeah,
see what you just did, like,
and they'll be like, oh man, I crushed. Like, what?
The level of delusion. I think if I had that when I first bombed, maybe, but it was so hurtful. And I think if it would have happened immediately, I would have been like, see, this is why I didn't try comedy, guys. I tried it, bombed, out of here. So
deuces.
Yeah.
That's funny. I find too, that's why I don't like bringer shows, because they give comics a weird delusion. Because a lot of times those bringer shows will be like, people will get on them that has never even done an open mic before, and as long as they can bring people, they'll put them on it, and then they go to a real open mic or a real show and just eat it. And man, that stinks.
Bringers I didn't even know what bringers were until was I in New York or was I in LA? I can't remember now. It might have been both actually, but that whole concept of like, it's going to be like a bringer show. It's a contest.
Yes.
And so if you bring the most people, they'll cheer louder and they'll laugh, even if you're not the funniest. And
because they're there for you.
Yeah. And I didn't know any people in LA. I just moved there. So I'm like, I can't bring 10 people to this thing. Like I don't know anybody. And I remember doing some contest at the Haha, and the person who won brought more people. But even after the show, all his friends were like, you were our favorite. I was like, get the Ever since then, I hate bringers. I'm like, this is not about how many people you can put in the seats, but now, yes, it is.
Yeah, it really is.
Years later, here I am like, oh, it is just about that. You don't have to be the funniest at all.
Yeah, as long as, if you can sell tickets, that's what matters.
Oh, God. But that was a hard lesson I learned with bringers. It's just like, oh, it's not about really being funny. It's like 20 people will laugh louder than your zero. So, sorry, kid.
So you said that you've moved around a little bit to different scenes. Have you found it like harder as far as like when you do that transition, it's almost like starting over? Because I've lived in a couple different scenes myself, and it seems like every time I move to a different area, I'm kind of starting over within that scene.
Yeah, I mean, my day job allows me to travel for work, so I've been moving off and on for about as long as I've been doing stand up. Yeah, 13 years traveling, 12 years stand up this year. So I'll pick a place that has a good scene and then I'll just show up. So I'm starting over new at my job and I'm starting over new in the scene. But I'm so used to packing and unpacking and meeting people all the time that it doesn't feel as stressful, maybe.
Hmm.
But I've been doing it for so long too that I don't really think about it. But there is some kind of like cool thing about being new, right? People are like, ooh, we
Hmm.
can book this person because it's not the same people we've already booked. That's always
Yep, that's
helpful.
true. That's a good point.
And they go, oh, a lady and black. We don't have one of those. And so that I'll jump in the token box whenever I need to. That's fine. So it doesn't feel yeah, I actually kind of like being the new shiny thing and then like I'm leaving in 2 months, bye, and then dipping. It's a
Yeah.
problem.
Well, that's really cool that you can do that, where you can live in an area for temporarily and then
Hmm.
move somewhere else. Because
Yeah.
that's the way I've even, because I work remote too, and I something I've been thinking about doing is just going to a scene for a couple of weeks and just hanging out, trying to get on mics and shows while I'm there, just to
Yeah.
kind of get out a little
It
bit.
it's a fun way to immerse yourself in it and also kind of see like, oh, could I actually maybe live here? I don't know. Let's
Hmm.
see what's up with that. Yeah, I love bouncing around, but I have commitment issues, but that has nothing to do with this.
That's funny. You said you had another story. I'd be interested to hear that one as well.
Oh
We still
God.
have time.
Dan. Okay. During the pandemic, I had boycotted submitting to festivals around 2017. Whenever that big like laughing skull kerfuffle came and they didn't book any black women, whenever that was, I was like, oh, you guys didn't even notice that we weren't there. This is a problem. So I was like, I'm gonna stop sending you guys tapes because you're not even watching them. You already know who you want to
Hmm.
pick. I'm not giving you my $25 for you to just not even look at my
Not
tape.
even look at my tape. Yes.
Yeah, so for a little bit I was boycotting festivals, and then there was this one, the American Black Film Festival. This has been happening for like 15 years, or maybe even 20. They started adding a comedy portion to it recently, and somebody was like, "Send your tape to this thing. There's going to be like actors and other people outside of comedy that are going to be at this huge event. It's a week in Miami. You should enter your tape." So I sent my tape in, and they had this contest. It was 16 comedians all over the country, but it was during the pandemic.
Oh.
So we had to go to LA and perform in front of the big Zoom panel of walls. You're standing on on the ground and you're surrounded almost like, I wouldn't say it's not 360, but like whatever this is, panoramic. I'm like,
Yeah. Well,
whatever.
panoramic. Yeah. 180.
Sure. But
Whatever.
there's you can see everybody's like Zoom and it's up on this wall and you're performing to the wall of people on Zoom. And so this was like maybe 2021, I think, where the contest happened. Top five got to go to Miami and perform again for some grand prize and meet all these people and go to the events. And I was like, I just want to get top five because I can network. But I hadn't done comedy since COVID because I didn't
Yeah.
want to. No one wants to hear my jokes. People are dying, dude. I don't care. But so
Yeah. Right.
I had taken a long break off of doing comedy. I was still working. I'm a healthcare worker, so I was still working at a nursing home in New York when everything happened. I was just traumatized, and I was like, I don't have any jokes. So when I finally got to do the competition, I had done maybe one open mic the night before. It was like 3 minutes, and then I did the contest, and I was so rusty and so bad, and I managed to squeak in a top five. And I was like, I'm going to Miami. I don't care what happens. So but then the second round, when it's top five for the money, my boyfriend at the time, I felt like he tried to sabotage me because we got into a little bit of a fight before I went to go do my next set.
That's always the worst when you have to
Uh,
deal with stuff like that. Even not even just relationship stuff, but anytime something, happens that can put you in a negative mindset before a show.
and so, and it was still so weird, that dynamic of you talking to people that aren't there. It was so weird because there wasn't a microphone. We're just kind of standing there like we're doing a weird like TED talk or something like that. And so we had gotten into a little bit of a fight, and I was like, I don't want you to come to my show. Like, don't click on the link. And shit like, so here I am. I'm doing my jokes, and my first joke bombed because this was when when Chet Hanks was talking about White Boy Summer, and I was like, "Who's ready for White Boy Summer?" This is an all black competition, so everybody's in the audience like, girl, ain't nobody ready for white boy summer. What are you talking about?
They're like, isn't every summer white boy summer?
Yeah. They were not
No,
expecting
that's
my
funny.
my stupid brand of humor. They were like, "Girl, what?" And I was like, "Oh, you guys didn't like this." And then I just forgot some of my jokes, and my mouth got dry again. It happened again, and I'm like, "I'm about to lose this competition." And then all of a sudden, I see my boyfriend pop up on a screen on my left, and I was like, "Why is he in here?" Like I was
Oh
freaking.
no.
Oh my god! So not only did we get into a fight, then he watches me bomb on this big Zoom panel. Oh, it was so bad. I think I may have gotten like third, even though I bombed. By the way, let me just point out, top
Still,
five, I still got third. I'm just saying,
I mean, that's awesome,
just saying.
but still, I mean, that sounds like just a weird show, all in all, just because of the fact that they did it like in a like had you come to a studio and perform in front
Yeah,
of screens
it
like
was really,
that's.
really weird. The COVID was strange. Like people were doing like Zoom shows and then doing like AI virtual reality headset
Yep.
shows and all this stuff. And I was like, nobody wants to hear us, guys. Have you guys considered not doing this for a while? It's
Yeah, just
okay.
taking a break.
Yeah. And so I had taken a break for real. And then I went into this competition and I forgot all my jokes. I hadn't practiced. I didn't know what I was doing. I got to the fight. And I mean, that one was bad. And I was like, every time the stakes are high for me, if there's a camera or something, I'm like, here comes a bomb. And if there's no camera there or I don't know there's one there, I'm like in the
Yeah,
pocket, chilling. But as soon as I'm like, they're like, this could change your life.
you're like,
They're
well.
gonna fly you to Miami for a week. And I'm like, yeah. And they're gonna give you $5,000. And I was like, not me, because I didn't win. Could have used that money. Could have used it.
Well, you got a trip out of it, right? There's that.
Man, when I got to Miami, I redeemed myself. It was a year later. It was a summer later. So things were a little bit more open. And we got to perform in front of like 1,000 people. There were people from TV there. All these people were there. And they were like, wow, you're so funny. I'm like, thank God I redeemed myself in real life. In real life. That Zoom shit was so horrible. I was like, this is so bad. But even the people that run the festival are like, this, we're so glad you were able to do what we knew you could do. And I was like, yes,
Yeah.
give me human beings in an audience and like some practice. And then but
Right,
that bomb, I
practice.
think about it all the time when I'm just like, dang, my mouth really was like, you could, there was no stool, there was nowhere to
Mm.
get water. It wasn't any of that. You're just standing there. Like,
Yeah, that sounds like a weird show. Like, I don't
yeah.
even know, like, that just sounds like a hard show to even do, let alone try to come back from when you start bombing. There's no real way to turn that around.
And you can't hear the laughs. Like some people didn't have their mics on, so you're not the delay and watching people's faces kind of be like, or seeing people turn their screens off.
Oh,
You know what I mean? You're just like, yo,
and
my
like, I'm not that bad, am I? You don't
no,
even want to see me anymore?
I'm hoping you're going to the bathroom and that's why you turn your screen off. No, they
Right.
really, it was a really hard medium to do comedy in. Even last night, I went to the show last night. They're doing silent disco comedy.
Yep, I've heard of that. Yep.
And every comic was like, oh, they can't hear the audience laughing in the headset. They don't, so they're just kind of like, am I bombing? I don't know. Like, or where are you guys from? I can't hear you. I don't know. Like, it's just this weird. The dynamic it was way harder to try to figure out how to do your comedy and still be
Hmm.
comfortable with being nobody there giving you actual feedback. It was a bomb waiting to happen, and I gave it to them. So
Oh, that's wild. Now, yeah, some of these shows that people put on, it's like they're trying to get people to buy. You know what I mean? Like they're adding all these extra elements just to make it that much harder to do comedy. Because comedy's already hard. We don't need to make it
yeah,
harder.
no, back in my day it was just like a nude show. Remember
Yeah.
those? Now
Yeah,
it's like
that we
nude with a shock collar. You're like, why are we doing that?
Yeah, right.
Just tell the
Wait, if I'm
joke.
not funny, somebody can zap me? I don't like this.
Right. Like, can't we just have them boo? Why is
Can we go back to the olden days? Just give them Rotten Tomatoes.
yeah, I mean, that might even be a new concept coming up. I feel like
Yeah, right.
now we're going back in time.
I guess history repeats itself, as they
Oh
say.
gosh. Yeah, the comedy is being so weird with all the different ways to like do comedy, like gimmicks
Hmm.
and stuff. But I feel like the VR stuff is that's cool if people are like in different countries and stuff. But Ugh.
Well, I personally haven't done a VR show, but from what people who have done them have told me, like you can at least hear the audience and you get
Mm.
to see like their avatars and stuff. So like they're in the room kind of. So that's a lot better than like the Zoom stuff because you're right, like on the Zoom, if they didn't have their mics on, you're not hearing laughter, and if they, they could turn their cameras off, whatever. And it's weird. It's a weird dynamic.
And everybody's flat.
Yep. Yep.
It's not even like you can. I feel like with VR, at least you can see like a whole shape of a person,
Yeah.
but like a
Yep.
flat screen, I'm like, this. Where are you?
Yeah. I filmed a dry bar towards
Mm.
the end of COVID or during COVID, and I ended up having to do a lot of Zoom shows to get ready for it.
Oh
And
my
that was
god.
just like, ugh, not fun.
How do you? Yeah, I've done a few. I don't even like hearing the audience laugh like delayed in like a Zoom just here,
Hmm.
but to have it on like this big panel, it was just way more intimidating than I anticipated. And so,
Yeah.
ugh, no, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully we don't have to ever do that again. But what's wild to me is I've seen there's some people that still do like open mics and shows on Zoom. So like it did create like its own like I don't know, virtual scene, I guess, if you will, where people still like to get together and do jokes and I mean more power to them. I'm not, to each their own.
I just think it's weird if you, especially if you started comedy during the pandemic and then they open things back up and now you don't know how to hold a microphone because you've never done
Hmm.
that. You don't know what
Yeah.
stage presence is. You don't know how to do any of that stuff. So it's like a little crutch to be in the comfort of your own home, but people are out there. When people are on tour, they're not doing the show from their hotel room. They're down in the thing. Like you have to figure out what that looks like outside of the Zoom. So open mic is cool, I guess, but you do have to say it in front of people in a room
Hmm.
too at some point.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, and
Agoraphobia comedy.
there's just nothing that will ever be like stand up, like live stand up though. Like
Hmm.
even as an audience member and a performer, like that dynamic and that energy that's in the room, it's
Yes.
just you're just not going to recapture that in a virtual setting, I don't think. I mean, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
It's very hard because you're on the couch in your pajamas. You know what I mean? Like it's not
Yep.
like you're putting your best foot forward to be on virtual, whatever. You don't care.
Yep.
You're looking at everybody's houses. This is weird. I don't want to know you like
Looking at their
this.
backdrops.
Yeah. Is that your dog? Like, what are we doing?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's definitely nice when you get redemption. I've definitely had some shows where even not even virtual, just shows where I didn't have a good set. It, felt like I kind of bombed, and then I went back the next year to that venue and did well, and I'm like, oh, redemption, thank you.
Yeah. Oh, the whole year. Oh, you probably
Yeah.
were punching so many
Oh,
bags and
actually,
frozen.
technically, it was longer than a year
Ooh.
because this was before the pandemic, and then I was booked to go back and then that's when the pandemic happened. So it was like the year before the pandemic. I bombed most of the weekend at the show. Then I was scheduled to go back, and then everything shut down.
Oh
And
my
then I
gosh.
finally just went back to this venue in November of last year. But this time I came back as a headliner,
Oh,
and yeah, and had a great weekend. So I got my redemption. It took a while, but I got it.
wow. Dude, bombing a whole weekend is crazy, Dan. I don't know.
Well, I
I
mean, I
don't
didn't like total bomb,
know.
but I just didn't feel good about my sets. It was like because it was a show at a casino, and
Oh,
it was Easter weekend, and
oh
like yeah,
God.
so just not great.
Ugh.
Not a good setting for comedy. Yeah, it's weird to me because like a lot of clubs, they'll still do stuff over the holiday weekends, and I suppose some people still go out to comedy shows and stuff, but it's like. I don't know. I feel like holidays, like especially like Easter weekend, is just a hard sell to get people to come to shows.
Yeah. And Easter, I don't even think about it as a huge holiday like that. But like, I do think that when people are like getting together, the last thing they want to do is like go do that.
Yeah, because they want to.
Thanksgiving and stuff like that too. I'm like, I don't want to go to no
Same.
comedy.
Yeah, because why would you want to go somewhere where you can't talk? If you're catching up with friends and family,
Right.
you want to go somewhere where you can talk and and be social with each other and things like that. So comedy just doesn't seem like isn't that element.
Yeah, unless
for
we find
sure.
like all the losers that don't have any friends or family and get them all at one show, then it's
Just
possible. They have no plans.
yeah, right. Yeah, yeah, and there's always a few of those, I suppose. Now
Yeah.
going back to the sets, what did you kind of take away from it to try to like try to improve on? I know you mentioned you didn't have a lot of time to prepare when you did the contest, but
Yeah. For me, it took me a while to like understand that I have control over what happens.
hmm
A lot of times I would go into shows and being like, I hope they like me. And I would give them the control, right? And they don't know what you're going to say. You can say whatever you want up there. They have no idea what's planned or not. And even now, sometimes people will be like, wow, you look so confident up there. I'm like, oh, I was scared. Like, I don't know what
yep.
you saw up there, but I was scared the whole time, you know? So knowing that what they're seeing isn't what I'm feeling kind of helped put in my mind, like at any moment, if I mess up, I can always go back and fix it. And they're not going to know really. But if I make it known that I'm fucking up, then they're like, oh, wow, she's not doing so great. And
hmm
so I think for me, it took a while to get out of my head about being perfect. Especially, I do have issues with like, oh, I messed that line up. And so even now when I'm doing comedy, I don't have like an opening joke. Like I've met old school comedians that I always have an opening joke. It's the same one every time. It gets the audience on your side. Da, 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 da. I'm like, I don't know what I'm gonna say. And I think that makes me feel more at ease if I come on stage and talk about what happened today or what happened backstage and let the audience know, like, hey man, we'll see what happens. And then I'll go into my jokes. But it took me a while to get to that place where I felt comfortable enough to just kind of do that with the audience because we're all kind of
hmm
connecting as opposed to me telling them a joke and them responding to it. We're kind of like we're having a thing.
Yep.
So when the bombs would happen, I have to keep remembering now, like you're gonna mess up, and that's also okay. You can stop and get water. It's not a rule. Like some people are like, oh, you can't get through a 10-minute set without drinking water. No, sometimes you can't. Like,
Yeah, sometimes you can't. Yeah, sometimes you get dry mouth, and that's
yeah.
yeah.
And you have all these people's ideas about what comedy should look like, all these purists and all this stuff.
Yep.
And it's like, you're not even famous. Like, shut up. And so why am I listening to you and being like, well, he said shouldn't bring water up, so I'm not going to? It's like, bitch, bring the water. It's your show.
Yep.
So I think that helped me as my career progressed is to be like, I am in control. I can do whatever I want up here. It's my show. These are my jokes. I'm going to have a good time. And if something happens, I can handle it. But that comes with repetition too, which is
hmm
why when you live in places like this where you don't get a lot of reps in, it makes it harder to build the muscle to know what to do when something happens.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
absolutely. Going back to the first story you told, you mentioned that you weren't really doing jokes, you were just telling stories. And
Hmm.
then so after that, is that when you started, starting to write actual jokes or and then kind of what became your process for that?
Yeah, after the bomb, I was like, oh, I do have to write. But then I was like, I don't know how to write. So I would still use the same kind of I work in healthcare, so I have things that happen at work all the time that are insane. But it's like I have to find a way to make it funny all the time. And then I was
hmm
dating a married guy. Maybe I'll throw that in there and find a funny thing in there. And so I remember writing down like a 5 minute thing for this open mic that I went to and being like, oh, I can do maybe a minute or two on this. And I still don't know how long time is when I'm on stage. I haven't figured out that formula. Some people are like, they know how long this joke is. And I'm like, I have no
hmm
idea. I don't know. So I wrote down 5 jokes, assuming they're all going to be a minute, and then kind of ran through them. And then I'm like, oh, I'm going to write this down. And I'm going to say this part, and then I might add this part because that sounds funny. And then I get on stage and I'm doing it, and I'm like looking at the paper because it's an open mic. Don't judge me. You brought your notes up on stage. Shut up. Shut up. But yeah, I remember doing the mic after I had bombed, and this bar in particular was really hard. It was a Sunday night. It was noisy, and they hate women in comedy most places. But there was a comedian who was getting ready to leave when I was on stage. He walked to the door, and I was on stage, and then he stopped, and then he came back in to watch the rest of my set. And I was like, "Ooh, that's something." And my writing process now is still kind of like oh, that sounds funny. I'll write down the idea and then I'll write on stage. I don't.
Hmm.
I admire people that sit down and like handwrite. I think that's so cool. Oh, you finished the Notebook? I've
Yeah, I don't
never
even.
I've never finished a Notebook. I've
I
bought new
still
ones.
have one of my original joke
Yeah,
books, and
yeah.
there's so much paper left in
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah. I don't know how people finish. I'm like, you're always writing in there? What are you writing? Like, what's in
Yeah.
there? A manifesto? Are you writing every word in the joke to like use up all the paper? So my process is like, that sounds funny. I write the sentence down or the idea, and then I'll go on stage and then remember what I thought was funny about it. And as I'm on
Hmm.
stage, I'm like, oh yeah, that is kind of funny. Then I go back and then add the stuff that I thought was funny. So I kind of do a weird back and forth of like a bullet point, flesh it out, and then bullet point back and forth, and then I'll trim it back down once I get used to saying it.
Hmm.
But it's not a lot of like pen to paper stuff.
Yeah, I'm the
Yeah,
same, very
yeah,
similar.
yeah.
I barely write down even when I have an idea. Sometimes I'll put a note in my phone,
And
but
your phone, yep, that's what I
yeah,
do.
sometimes I'm trying to get better at least taking some notes because I'll think of something really funny out with people or whatever, won't put it in my notes, and then the next day I'm like, what were we talking about? Trying
Yeah,
to
yeah.
remember what, because I'm like, that was funny, but I can't
I
remember
know.
what it was.
Somebody told me that they sleep with their notepad by their bed because sometimes they'll just wake up in the middle of the night and something funny will come up and they have to write it down. I'm like, dude, I'm not.
Yeah, that not for me.
I'm up going to the bathroom and going back to sleep, or
Exactly.
I'm having a night terror and I'm gonna go look at something online to shift my brain away from being
Yeah.
murdered. But I'm not writing down a bit next to my bed. Like,
Yeah,
all
especially
right,
in the middle of the night.
no, you're not that creative that you're dreaming about jokes.
Right, yeah, and if you are, you need to take a break from comedy
Man,
because that's all you're thinking
go
about.
on vacation, man. Go see what people are doing outside. Be inspired by life. My goodness.
Right? Go get some sunshine.
Man, or get laid. You sound
Yeah.
weird.
Well, this has been great. We're gonna wrap up. You have a new special coming out in
Yes.
May. Why don't you talk a
Yes.
little bit about that?
Oh, my debut special. It's called Highly Intelligent. It's directed by Michael Malone. He's been doing comedy for 20 something years. Been directing specials for a couple of years too.
Oh,
Um,
Mike's great.
he's
He's great.
yeah, that process with writing with him because he helped me like put my set in the right order. And even that, he's like, okay, do your sets. I'm like, I don't right now. He's like, yeah. It's like this is weird. Like, we're doing the note card thing, which I was so excited about the note cards. And he goes, I have a really hard joke about something that happened to me. And he's like, that's going to be your closer. I'm like, what? You want the hard thing to be last? He's like, yep. Okay. And so even my closer, I hadn't actually done it on stage until the night that I taped.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So what people will see in the special is me trying to remember what I wrote on my note cards and going on my long walks and like going over my set. And then some parts I probably forgot, but it's really good. But it's called Highly Intelligent, and I'm very proud of it. It's my first one. People were crying, whatever. I think it's gonna be good, and I would love for everybody to watch it. So,
Yep, and that'll be released through Comedy Dynamics.
well, the
So
album is
or
that's the
oh, the
trick.
album.
The
Oh,
album
okay.
only. I'm releasing my special, the video, independently.
Oh, okay. Well,
I'm
that's gonna
putting
go.
that up on YouTube on the 20th. The album comes out the 23rd.
Okay, gotcha. So the
Yeah,
special going up separately. Okay,
yeah.
good to know. Good to
I'm
know.
taking the risk. I'm like, go to my YouTube and watch this thing. You know, I,
Hmm.
I I get a little bit nervous about people not seeing it, and I feel like if it's free to people, they'll more likely go find it and look at it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yep. Now,
yeah.
when you going into that process, did you do this and then get the album signed with Comedy Dynamics to release it, or was it already in the works to do an album with them?
No, I had taped for them back in 2019, I think. We did the show called Coming to the Stage.
Hmm.
I was on season 10. Oh, also a bomb. I forgot about that.
Oh,
Never watched that either. Don't
forget I
find
mentioned
it.
that show.
Don't find season 10. I think it's on Pluto TV now. It's whatever. But yeah, I forgot I bombed on that show too because there were cameras. Uh, but I remember I was like, oh right. A friend of mine was saying that they were buying a lot of specials and doing all that kind of stuff with different comics, and they were like, you should probably talk to them. I was like, I forgot I taped the thing with them. I'm going to reach out. And so I said, hey, I'm taping the special in October. I don't know if you'd be interested in like helping me with the album or something like that. They were like, we'd love to. And so we partnered on the album, and then I thought about it and said, I kind of want to keep the video to myself. And so I'm going to do that way. So it kind of happened before I taped, like, hey, do you guys want to help me with the album? Because they can put it on Sirius, which might be, to me, I have no idea about that stuff. So I'd rather them do that, and whatever royalties come from it, that's great. And it'll be cool to say I'm on Sirius if it gets picked up. But
yeah, absolutely.
That happened before I even taped. I think I taped in October, and I think we had already done like paperwork stuff like in August or something like that.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah.
And where did you film it?
In Las Vegas at this jazz blues bar. It's called Fat Cat. Yeah, it looks really cool. I kind of wanted it to look like Gerard Carmichael's Rothaniel, because he films at the Blue Note down in New York. And I was like, I like that feel, the room kind of being like almost kind of heavy, where you can tell like something is happening, right? Because blues and jazz is always like a painful-ish kind of thing. And some of my stuff is kind of dark and sad, but people had a good time. It looks really cool. They never done comedy there before, but now they want to do a monthly show with me. So I'm doing a monthly
that's
show.
cool.
Yeah.
Congratulations on that.
Yeah. They were like, oh, you can do this all the time. I'm like, not on Wednesdays.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations on the new special and the album coming out. Lastly, where can people find you if they want to come see you live?
Oh gosh, I'm on ShannaChristmas.com. It's Shanna Christmas across everything. SHANNA Christmas. That's how you spell that one. Everything. Website I have up. I have Instagram. I have the YouTube. I plan on traveling a lot more after the special comes out. So yeah, find my everything on everything. Same name on everything.
Perfect. All right, and that'll be linked in the show notes. Thanks for doing this.
Thanks for having me, Dan.
This has been a Tape Deck Media production. Thank you for listening.